Should you file a claim for any roof damage that you sustained? Now, you might think, wait a minute, of course, I'm going to. But should you really? It's going to depend on a lot of different factors, and we're going to review these factors. My name is Mike Keeler. I'm a licensed public adjuster in the state of Florida. Here's my contact information. All right, so here are going to be some of the areas that we're going to cover in this video. What's covered as far as perils and what you can get your roof covered under, date of loss, damages, your deductible, the hurricane, storm, what happened, a roofer's opinion, the insurance company themselves and the way they handle the claim, the mathematics of a roof claim, and then also talk briefly about how these insurance companies are refusing to pay in most states. Almost very highly are they not paying to any great degree in Florida. It's about a 98% denial. So that's starting to carry over into other states, and we're going to talk about that. All right, so basically, when it comes to your roof, there's going to be really two instances to where your roof can get replaced by the insurance company. That's going to be from a windstorm or hail. Now, hail is becoming more difficult, just as wind. So, you know, well, I don't even want to go down that road, but these are the only two real instances. Yes, if you have a fire and there's total devastation, but generally speaking, these are the two areas. So, the date of loss, this becomes a major issue in a lot of claims. So, do you have the exact date of when the storm happened? Some people file claims after the storm. 6 months down the road, they realize, oh wow, now we're having leaks in the house, and I didn't think anything happened after that storm that came by. Are you guessing at the date? Do you really don't know? Because what you can't do, okay, let me give you a prime example of what you can't do. You notice leaks or water stains on your ceiling on November 2nd, 2025. You call the insurance company on November 3rd, 2025, and you say, I have leaks on my ceilings. I just noticed them yesterday. Yesterday can't be the date of loss, people. Was there a storm on November 2nd? If a hurricane or tornado came through and knocked your roof off on November 2nd, that would be the date of loss. But if you're just having leaks all of a sudden and there was no wind event or hail event, this is not the date of loss. So do you have the exact date? See how that's connected? Or are you guessing? See how that's connected? This is a bad thing right here. Did a roofer give you a date? You call a roofer, see if you need a new roof. He says, hey, you can use this date of loss. That doesn't work anymore. Unfortunately, there's been some situations where they put people in very difficult times. I'm trying to not go off on some stuff here, but they've said, well, there's this April 2nd. We've used that. We know there's this big storm. Then you look up and the weather data doesn't support the idea that it damaged your roof. So just be careful. If you do have a date that you got from a neighbor, from a roofer, from your bartender, whatever, double check the date for accuracy. Do a weather history report. Take a look back. Are there any articles on the internet for that date? Are there anything that can help verify the accuracy of a date that you're going to use? Otherwise, the whole claim can be lost, denied, and you can't even win if you try to sue them. That's why this is so important. All right, so let's look at the damages here. Are you only dealing with your roof? In other words, is that the only thing damaged? Okay, gutters, fascia boards maybe, but or do you have the roof and interior, doors, windows, walls, ceilings? This is going to typically more happen with a hurricane, but if that's the case, this is where we talk about the mathematics of does it make sense calculator, right? Does it make sense? And we're going to go through a quick exercise. So let's just say you only have your roof that's damaged. Sizes of roofs obviously vary. What happens going to vary, whether it's hail or wind. But just know if your roof now on what they're doing is 10 years plus, okay, you can expect depreciation being taken. Now that will be recoverable depreciation if you have a RCV policy, okay, RCV replacement cost value versus ACV, which is actual cash value. All right. Difference between the two, they both get depreciation taken, both. With RCV, the replacement costs, all right, you get the depreciation money back. With the ACV, you do not. And that could be a big chunk, all right? Let's take a 15-year-old roof. Say it costs $30,000 for a new shingle roof. They're going to depreciate it by at least 50%. So let's say 50%. So now they're going to pay you 15. Okay. Most states do not have a hurricane deductible. That's only Florida. So let's branch it off. Let's just say your deductible is $2,500. So you can expect to check about $12,500 for that roof. Obviously, if you're in Florida, these are entirely different because same scenario, 30,000 roof, okay, 15 years old, depreciation, they're going to take at least half. So we're going to say that's 15. Florida people here, now you're left with 15. Deductibles are high. On average, the deductible, because of the prices have risen in Florida as far as the values of the house and what you have to build back, on average, the house is $7,000 hurricane deductible. So rather than you being these people over here in another state, 12,500, Florida residents, you are going to get 7,000 or 8,000. So let's just say 8. Okay. So the depreciation, both parties, whether state, if you have RCV, okay, you'll be able to get back that 15,000. So let's circle the 15,000. Depreciation you'll be able to get back once it's done. Okay. And you usually have, read your policy, but it's normally 180 days. So that's a big difference between just not only the states on where you live, Florida versus others, RCV, ACV. Obviously, if you have roof interior and the interior, you don't really have to worry about the overall damages because it's going to be worth it. But here, you have to weigh in, especially if you live in Florida, is it worth it? In Florida, also, 98% roof denials. Yeah, I just talked to somebody the other day. They were handling the claim themselves. Didn't get the right date of loss. Other issues, I'm not getting involved with that. And I know other attorneys. They talked to 3 other attorneys who didn't want to get involved with it. So that's the issue that's going on in Florida. Hopefully this isn't too confusing, but the mathematics definitely comes into play when you're in Florida, and if you only have a roof that is damaged and nothing on the interior or anything else. Don't forget, hit the thumbs up, like it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. So as we talked about a couple slides ago, the deductible, right? So this is going to come into play more so if you're in Florida because we have the 2%, 5%, 5%, and 10% thresholds for deductibles, which with the value of houses going up, obviously the building coverage goes up every year. So your deductible naturally is going up every year. Um, Other states, probably like 1,000, 2,500. Other than like Texas, Louisiana, Carolinas might. I'm not sure if they do have a one deductible. So, but remember, people, a deductible might be the greatest scam ever because you have to pay your policy. Let's just say you pay $5,000 for your policy annually and you have a hurricane claim. Let's say you're in Florida and you have a $7,000 hurricane deductible. Okay, so 7K. For that year, you have paid approximately $12,000. A deductible is the greatest scam ever that they put on the American people. So you pay your policy and they want you to pay some of the damages by saying it's a deductible. All right, anyhow. I regress. Let's say, so what kind of storm, what kind of event did you have that you're making a roof claim or want to make a roof claim? Is it simply a rainstorm? You will have major problems, more than likely, trying to get your roof covered and having the insurance company pay if it's only a windstorm, rainstorm with a little bit of wind there. Tornado, yes, if you were in the path of it. Tropical storm like what we have in Florida, yes, depending on the winds and how long those winds were. Hurricane, obviously. And there are these rare occurrence high wind storms that even go through other states. And I wouldn't necessarily call them hurricanes or tornadoes, but they're just one of these freak high windstorms that sometimes can be with hail or snow and do some damage. But the other thing is when you have a storm, but the winds weren't high, and it's equivalent to this windstorm, but it's a shitload of rain, and you get leaks, that will be hard too because that's going to fall underneath this rainstorm thing. A lot of people sometimes have that. Sometimes you get 3 days of hard rain and people file a claim. That's a major problem because rain is not covered. If a wind created an opening and water slash rain gets in, that's one thing. But if your roof is old, they're going to go through and really say, wait a minute, the rain came in because you have an old roof. We'll go through that. All right, so let's talk about after you, or actually, I would do this like right at the beginning to decide on whether or not I'm going to file a claim, and that is get an opinion from a roofer on whether or not it can be repaired or replaced. If it's repaired, I wouldn't call the insurance, or it can be repaired, I wouldn't call the insurance company and file a claim. If it needs to be replaced, and both roofers, if you get 2 or 3 roofing companies to come over and they say, hey, listen, you need to replace this roof. It's old. There's whatever damage, then okay, you've got your answer. As far as handling the claim, listen, there's some laws in Florida now where a roofing company, roofer, or contractor cannot even remotely um, come off as if they're representing the client, like a public adjuster or an attorney can. So Florida is coming down hard. They are arresting contractors and roofers, and they are losing their license. So a roofer can submit an estimate on your behalf, um, and then try to put in some wording on why the roof should be paid. They got to be careful. Insurance companies get a sniff of that. You're going to be reported if you're a roofer. You need to be careful. Other states, this is happening, not to the same degree, but there are some videos on YouTube that I cringe at some of the advice. A lot of these guys want to be experts in the insurance world, and there's several things that they can tell you, which I have seen, that can screw up everything. And if you're in that state and there's some advice you got and you follow through with it and it's a roofer, you could have some action against that person. So, and there are a few videos that I'll just leave it at that. So let them handle the roof. Don't let them get involved with your claim whatsoever. I would highly advise that. You do the best you can. Obviously, you always want to hopefully have somebody represent you, but in other states, that may not be as pressing as it is in Florida, because in Florida, you need to have somebody represent you. If not, it's getting to the point that me as a public adjuster or attorneys will not try to clean up what you did wrong, whether it's date of loss or so on and so forth. I mean, it's going to have to be a very clean claim. And if it's only the roof, like we're not even getting involved anymore because of kind of the change of the laws and everything. Okay, so the claim process itself obviously starts with the field adjuster coming to your home. Possibly the claim adjuster speaks before you and gets a recorded statement. They may ask at some point for a proof of loss. And a lot of these roof claims now, engineers for the insurance company are coming out. Once this character comes out, your claim will be denied. That's what the engineer is coming out for, not to help you, but to deny your claim. All right, so let's go through the current state of where roof claims are, not only in Florida, but across the nation. So Florida, as I mentioned a couple times, you have a high likelihood of getting your claim denied if it's a roof claim, 98%, unless it's a hurricane. Okay. You know, tornado too. But other than that, or a very tropical storm that comes, or maybe there's an emergency, state emergency filed by DeSantis, then yeah, that could be better for you as well. But without those conditions, not good. Other states are definitely more favorable when it comes to roof claims, but they're trending towards Florida. The states that are as bad as Florida is probably Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, a lot of those states in the South. So in Florida and other states, once you start handling a claim and it's denied, you might have damaged your claim beyond a fixable resolution, even by trying to hire a public adjuster and attorney. So just know that once you dip your big toe in the water and then the insurance company denies you, it's not easy for a public adjuster or an attorney to try to overturn and re-engineer or reverse engineer what had already happened and how you damage the claim itself. So just know that. Now, this actually corresponds with this, which is what you say, what documents you send in, if you have previous roof repairs, previous claims, anything that you gave information to the insurance company, it's going to hurt you. So this is what we're dealing with now, folks. So you've got to make a decision based on everything you've seen in this video, the mathematics, the claim process, the likelihood of a denial, what type of claim is it from, hail or wind, the date of loss. You have to make a conscious decision on whether or not it's worthwhile to file a roof claim with all that. This isn't what it was 10 years ago. This is the new way insurance companies are handling everything. And so you need to make sure that you put yourself in the best possible situation that the insurance company has to pay you. Thanks again for watching this video. Again, my name is Mike Keeler. I'm a licensed public adjuster in Florida. Here's my contact information. If you have a question or need help with a claim, feel free to contact me. Thank you.